Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Park Cities Rotary Club today. It's the 32nd meeting of the year. And before we get into our program, I'd like everyone just to stand up and just mingle amongst yourselves and say hi to your neighbors and meet some new people. And then we'll get going here in a second.
Mark at a different network on Wednesday night.
So do you work with North Texas Presiding?
No, so when the Secretary of State had the app, so I was working with the app in 2012 to resolve it in 2021. People had to use the app to go down and out.
Yeah.
What happened in 2020?
Yeah.
Right. So restaurants weren't able to pay us and everything like that. So we had to solve it throughout the years. We created so many initiatives. I was super passionate about it and working on it for 9 years. So I said, I'm not going to dissolve. All right, we don't want to stop doing it. So I voluntarily became the director of taking care of it. So we're 100% volunteer led. 100% of our funds go to the community. So we have our PCC events all around the country. Small Shreveport, Georgia, Alabama, Frisco, Richards, Fort Worth, and so on. So this happened on Saturday mornings. We have a full state garden program. Luckily for me, in 2018, we started healthcare company as well with Andre, who's the founder of Big Tab. I'm the VP of marketing for that. So that keeps food on my table. So I'm able to do this as my hobby. And there's going to be people last year we did 600,000 meals to people in need. And this year we're targeting a million. We'll be doing the Guinness World Record event in September with a comedy show and everything. We partnered up with 96. Last year we partnered up with 96.3 country radio station. People that volunteered at our Beach City initiative got free tickets. We brought in Dan and Shay for a private concert with them for volunteering and doing that. So that was a great part. We do a lot of fun stuff. We do a lot of people in need.
That's fantastic.
How long have you been part of this Rotary?
Last 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Or so.
You may have been there at the same night as they may have.
I did. I was in there. But you're right, COVID changed so many different things.
Oh, yeah. I wish we were on the delivery curve, like the DoorDash and Uber Eats. If we were on that, we'd still be around. But unfortunately, we're ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Well, they just, we have various programs like I just talked about. We're in charge of our scholarship program for Hillcrest High School. They're awarded people either college or secondary school. And it just kind of dissolves away because Rotary has a high school right. And it just is never really recovered. Turnover, low ISD issues
And some other things, getting in the schools and stuff like that.
It's trying.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So
Okay, everyone. Let's all take a seat. We're going to have John Brown come up and do our invocation and our prayer. So if everyone can take a seat, we'll get the show going.
Good morning. Are there any cares or concerns? None? Okay, let's pray. Almighty and loving God, we give you thanks for all the blessings you have poured upon us. We know that our blessings are not a reward for what we have done, but a deep pool of abundance that we can share. Help us to do your will. Show us how to serve all those that we meet each day. Encourage us to encourage others when they need the strength you alone provide. Make us examples of your love so that others may see you more clearly. Let the work we do in this world through Rotary reflect your perfect love for all your creation. We pray in your holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thanks, John. And now it's time for Happy Bucks. Scott's going to walk around with the microphone. Hey, Happy Bucks. Anybody that has something happy about it? There we go. Kathleen. Scott, over here, Kathleen.
Kathleen, I'm coming your way.
Guess what's next Monday? Ronald McDonald House. Yay! Right after Sunday, don't forget to have your green beer. There's a sale on green food coloring right now at Kroger's. Okay, so Ronald McDonald House, we could use a few more hands. I know it's a kitchen, but it's not scary, really. It comes with directions. And any of us can do it, really. So if you have any questions, talk to me afterwards. But looking for a few more hands, Monday, 4 p.m. Ronald McDonald House. Got it?
Everybody got that? Thank you, Kathleen.
Pat, Scott, right here.
Who next? Oh,
My son was, he lost his job a few months ago, and Monday, he's starting a new job. So he's off my payroll.
anybody else? Any other takers?
Any more Happy Bucks? Anyone? Any more?
That's it.
Okay. Guest. Do you have a guest? Casey, right here. Richard, you go. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hi, guys. I brought a guest from my new job that I accepted. I'm on my second week. And I brought Tammy Preston. She's with me. She's also a customer success manager at DocuNav. So welcome her.
Yes, and I want to introduce you to Dr. Guinness and let her say a few words. She's from another club, and I actually met her. She just stopped in here. She was kind of shopping us, right, last year, and she went to several clubs like I did, and guess what club she's choosing?
Woo! Sean?
Okay, my guest is a graduate, MBA graduate from Texas A&M, and Chief Operating Officer of ProBiora Health, and she's also a former Rotarian. Please welcome Brenda Hightower.
Welcome, Brenda.
ZIEV.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce my wife, Julie, ZIEV.
Welcome.
We have guests everywhere. I'm going to start with you, Abby.
Okay, two guests to introduce this morning. One is Nick Marino. He's with Tango Charities. You've probably seen the work that they do around the community, but completely aligns with our strategic initiative of hunger. So please say hi to Nick and get to know him. I hope that there's some collaborative things that we can do with them. They're doing great work. And then also Vanessa Bovis. We've been friends for close to 20 years probably. Used to be in a couple of networking groups together. Recently ran into each other. Good friends with Happy as well. But she's with Insperity, so please welcome Vanessa.
Welcome.
I'm really thrilled to introduce my friend Morgan Hare. She's president of the AIRS Foundation. She is a skincare expert. The company that she has that she's president of is Ericlea, which is found in many dermatologist offices. So be sure to ask her your skincare questions. So, welcome, Morgan.
Welcome.
I'm happy to have my son Eric here. He is in art, and hopefully he'll help me be able to understand more about what we're seeing today.
Okay, great. Welcome.
I would like to introduce for the second time Todrick Johnson. Todrick is the district executive for West Park District, Boy Scouts of America, and he has made application to be a member of the club. So
welcome.
This may be the last time I introduce him as a guest.
Glad to have you.
I'd like to introduce my wife, Katie Taylor. Several of you have met her at food bank packing events, popcorn packing, and some social events, but she's usually teaching on Fridays, so thank God for spring break.
Welcome.
Back to you, Jeff.
And Eric Harrison will now do our marketplace advertiser.
Thank you, President Jeff. Good afternoon. Our marketplace advertiser today is Barbara Barney. A strong work ethic with 20 years experience as a residential realtor in Dallas and the DFW Metroplex, along with a genuine care for her clients. Helps Barbara provide a valuable service as a realtor to her clients at Alley Beth Allman. Barbara has an MBA in finance and real estate from somewhere called the Cox Business School at SMU. Yeah, might have heard of it. And a degree in interior design from El Centro, where she won the Student Design Award, and an Allied ASID status. Barbara spent her first 3 years in residential real estate in Lake Highlands, Lakewood, and East Dallas, and has since expanded to the Park Cities and the DFW Metroplex. She played a key role in SMU's acquisition of units from University Gardens and homes adjacent to SMU for the George W. Bush Presidential Library, and has worked with many prominent Dallasites in the sale and purchase of their homes. Barbara is a multi-year top producer working with many prominent Dallasites in the sale and I just said that. She is also a specialist in leasing in the Park Cities, where she represents landlords. Anybody out there? Barbara grew up in Farmers Branch, so did I, Preston Hollow, and Richardson, and has been a resident of University Park since 1987. When Barbara is not working hard for her clients, she donates her time to several local organizations and charities, is involved in the arts in Dallas, and spends time with friends and travels. She is a 17-year member of our club and a 40-year member of Highland Park United Methodist Church. Please join me in welcoming or thanking Barbara Barney for her support for our club.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, Eric. And now I'd like to call on Pat Martin to speak to the membership moment.
Thank you, Jeff. A few weeks ago, Tom Swift talked about the Legacy of Leadership cohort from last year, which I was also a member of. And our project was to take a look at membership. How can we increase membership? How can we have better membership retention? So those members of the cohort that are here today are, of the cohort are Tom Swift, Lee Wagner, John Brown, Fred Brown, Patty, I'm gonna mess up, Schaub, and Jeff Brady, Jim Delal, and myself. So one of the things that we made a part of our project was to agree to become mentors for new members, which we are doing. And we recommended to the board that we would, that future graduates of our Legacy of Leadership program would be strongly encouraged to also become mentors, because we feel like this would be a great way to continue our success in retention. So one of our goals as the cohort was to increase our membership by 2 members year over year. That's pretty conservative, right? This year, we are at 147 members right now, which we're up by 4, okay, since the beginning of the year. So pretty good, round of applause. But wait, we're actually down from this time last year. So there's lots of fluctuations throughout the year, and at the end of the year, when it's time to renew, a lot of times we lose members. So this is an ongoing thing that we can all do something about. And as members, and I see that a lot of people invited guests, which we're always encouraged to do. And some other things that we could do, you know, invite people to participate in one of our volunteer opportunities. Our PCRConnect, or the amazing social events that Happy so generously lets us know about and hosts. Another idea is potentially switching a single membership. I saw that a couple of you brought spouses. There's a deal for couples to become members. And then, sign up as a small business, bring a colleague with you. William and I joined as a small business, so that's a great way to do it, or also a corporate membership. And there's an additional benefit that comes with the small business and corporate membership. You get an ad, a marketplace ad, and a pitch, which we just heard, on the hub, okay? So just want to encourage everybody to think about who you can bring as a guest, and we welcome all of the great visitors that we have today, and we encourage you to consider becoming a member. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pat, because guys, that is the essence of who we are. You know, Rotary is our members, and the more great members we can get, it's wonderful. Casey, I'm glad you're bringing your new cohort, your work. That's wonderful, and you know, and Sean, of course, former member down in Kingsville. We'd love to have you come be a member. So thank you again, guys, for coming as guests today. Now I'd like all new members to stand up. Who are new members in the club? Casey, you stand up. All new members. Just want to give an idea to show who we have in the club. So we need more than one new member standing up when we do this. So kind of drive the point home from Pat. Oh, Jim, too. Well, Jim, you got to slow it. Stand up. There you go. That's great. Jim's a former member down from Kerrville, and so that's been great. Susan Glenn, talk about the North Texas Packing Day. You come up. You can yell if you'd like. You can do it.
Thank you, President Jeff. Well, it's that time of year again, and of course we know one of our strategic initiatives is to eradicate hunger. So I'm honored to lead our volunteer packing day for North Texas Food Bank. It's the 20th. It's April 20th, a Saturday in the morning. As she said, as Pat said, you could bring your guests and new members, and we hope you can join us. And I'll be sending out weekly sign-ups. So if you have any questions, let me know. Hope you can join us this year.
Thank you, Susan. You know, as Pat mentioned, we have all these great social events, and those are just some of the things I'm going to announce real quick. We have, get your pencils out, we have a few announcements here, but we have a PCRConnect at Rise Restaurant on Greenville Avenue. That's on March 28th. So get your pencil out for that and put that down. On Friday, March 29th, there's no meeting because of the Easter holidays. The March Madness at Over Under Sports Bar, we'll be having an event there starting at noon to 3. And then on Saturday, April 6th, the Crawfish Festival that we've mentioned a few times, so that should be a great event. The district conference is coming up here on April 13th. So if anyone has any interest in going to the district conference, I'd highly recommend you go. They're great, and you can meet great other clubs from our district, and I'll be attending. But if you have any interest in that, please register for that. And then on April 15th, Tax Day, at the Moody YMCA, we'll be having our programming meeting. So if you have any interest in bringing great guest speakers, like today with Jeremy, with the Nasher, that'd be great. Jeff Brady and Richard Stanford will be heading that up. There'll be pizza from 6 to 8 at the Park Cities Moody YMCA. And then April 26th, the Rough Riders baseball game. So you can register for that online. So clearly you can see we have a lot of events coming up and social events you can be involved in. Now I'd like to have Lee Wagner, and let's do the raffle drawing and get Jeremy to pull the winning number out, hopefully, for someone to win half the pot. Is it like $1,000? So you win about $500 if you have the winning ticket and you pull the ace of spades. So get your numbers, your tickets out. And the winning number is 072. Raise your hand if you have at least a 07 or a 2. I want to see the reaction here. 072 9. Ah, man.
So the last 2 weeks, whoever came up behind me had the winning ticket. So today I stood there and waited for somebody else to come up and let them go first. Oh, 10 of hearts. Ah.
Thank you, Mark. And now I'd like to have Pam Carvey come up and introduce our guest.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very excited today that we have got Jeremy Strick coming to talk to us about the Nasher. In 2003, which is a little over 20 years ago, the Nasher opened. And on opening day, I happened to be able to get there late afternoon before the doors closed. I probably got there 30 minutes before they closed the doors. And so I ran around the brand new Nasher Museum and had a great time running around it real quickly before they absolutely were closing the doors on me. And I walked out with Ray Nasher. And I could not believe it, because then he and I walked along the sidewalk briefly to the corner, and we talked. And I am a Duke graduate, and he has a museum at Duke. So we had a little bit to talk about. And then at that point, this wonderful man who gave millions to the city of Dallas for the Nasher Museum walked around the corner and got in his car. No fanfare, no party. There must have been some kind of a party that I don't know about, but you know, it was just so impressive. He was such a wonderful man, and we now have the Nasher Museum. So it's been a good time to have in the city, and for me, I've had a membership since it opened, and I hope a lot of you, if you don't have one, will consider having one, because we need to support our museums. So today we have the director of the Nasher Museum, and before he retires, we are going to lose him towards the end of this, sometime in the summer. I think it's June, but good for him. He has been with us for 15 years at the Nasher, and before he was at the Nasher, he was a senior curator at the Art Institute of Chicago some time ago. He was the director of the Museum of Contemporary Art in Los Angeles, California for more than 9 years, and then he has been with us, as I said, for 15 years. He has overseen collections, exhibits, and operations. It's in the Dallas Art District, which we all know. In 2015, he created the Nasher Prize, dedicated exclusively to contemporary sculpture. He has been instrumental in conceiving and implementing major new programs and initiatives for the museum. He organized the Nasher Exchange. He has also launched sightseeings, and in addition, he created 360, which is for artists, critics, curators, a monthly lecture series, which we all can enjoy. So at this point, I would like to introduce Jeremy Strick.
Pam, thank you so much for that kind introduction. I am so delighted and quite honored to be here, and I want to start by congratulating all of you and thanking you for the work that you do on behalf of our community. As Pam mentioned, I'm soon to retire, and I realized in thinking about this talk that this would actually probably be the last talk I give outside the Nasher during my tenure. And so normally what I've done when I've given a talk, I might talk about a current exhibition or an upcoming activity. But I'm asking your patience for me because I thought I'd do something a little more general, a bit more of an overview about the Nasher. And I thought about this under the rubric of why sculpture. So the American sculptor Robert Smithson once said that sculpture is what you bump into when you step back to look at a painting. But as someone who's now spent the last 15 years of my career, along with all of my wonderful colleagues at the Nasher, thinking day and night all the time about sculpture, I thought I'd think about why does it matter so much to us? What does it do for us, and what can we do with sculpture? So I'm going to start. Here we go. This image on your screens. This is what's called a hand axe. It's about just a little over 9 inches tall. It was found in South Africa, and it was made about 600,000 years ago by a species called Homo erectus, which existed from about 2 million years ago to about 100,000 or so years ago, preceding Neanderthals and, of course, our own species. Spread from Africa throughout Europe and Asia, occupying a lot of the world. They made these stone tools, and there are millions of these tools extant. You can go to museums across Europe, Asia, Africa, tons of them. Most of them are relatively crude, and they're designed for purpose,
cut meat. But every once in a while you come across one like this, which has been made with extraordinary care. So much care. You look how every edge is sharpened, how absolutely symmetrical it is. The cuts are very fine. Someone spent a lot of time making this. And that effort exceeded the purpose. So whoever made this was taking some kind of pleasure, some kind of pride in the fineness of its facture, if you will, in its beauty. And for me, that suggests really the origin. For me, that suggests the origin of the impulse to make art and to make sculpture. So fast forward 600,000 years. You might recognize this couple. This is Patsy and Ray Nasher. Soon after they were married. Ray grew up in Boston. Patsy was a Dallas native. They met after college, married, and moved back to Dallas. In 1965, they opened this place, North Park. And a couple of years later, in 1967, they began to collect sculpture. The first work of sculpture they acquired was this Jaune Arp, which they bought in 1967. Actually, Patsy bought it for Ray as a birthday present. And Ray thought that was great. So he returned the favor and bought Patsy this sculpture by Barbara Hepworth. And that got them fixed on the idea of collecting sculpture, really focusing on sculpture. Now, the sculpture they started to buy was of a very particular sort. So that, to go back, that, those two purchases got them started collecting sculpture, and that led in 2003 to the opening of the Nasher Sculpture Center, which you see here, our front interior galleries. As I was saying, the sculpture they bought was of a very particular kind. They could have bought a work like this. This is by an Italian 19th century sculptor named Antonio Tantarini. They didn't, instead, they chose to buy work that looks like this. This is a sculpture by Pablo Picasso, 1909, head of Fernand. Really, this is the first, just about the first instance of Cubism being introduced into sculpture. This is made of plaster. It's one of the key works in the Nasher collection. That kind of realism is replaced by these geometric facets. Or a work like this by Naum Gabo. Or this bust of Diego by Alberto Giacometti. Modern and contemporary sculpture was their focus. And sculpture which really questioned, challenged, and replaced all the traditions of sculpture that are exemplified by that Antonio Tantarini bust that I showed you. Something completely different, something extraordinarily inventive, restlessly inventive, constantly searching new means and new ideas, new ways to make art. The materials that artists used in the period that the Nashers collected could range from very traditional ones, like bronze with this Miro moonbird, or wood, like this extraordinary Paul Gauguin, ceramic, like this Picasso vase of flowers. Stone, like this, Tony Smith, the artist who made the joke I told you at the beginning. But also began adapting more contemporary materials. For example, with this Marc de Souvero, who uses steel girders. There's this one in the Nasher's garden, and of course there's the massive one right here in the center court of North Park. Or industrial techniques like these lead bricks by Carl Andre. Or even more recent materials like these resin bricks to make these phone booth-like sculptures that are illuminated by the Spanish artist Jaume Plensa. So we show the Nasher collection, and over the years we've also continued to add to that collection. And we also organize exhibitions of works that are not in the collection. So those can be of artists in the collection, like this was a show of Giacometti's Women of Venice series. Or this was a retrospective we organized a few years ago of Jean Arp, the founding artist of the Nasher collection. An artist who was in the Nasher collection, isn't currently, but we did an amazing show a couple of years ago, Harry Bertoia. Also, group shows, thematic shows, like the show we just had, we closed at the beginning of this year, Groundswell Women of Ground Art, which looked at a movement in art from the 1960s into the 1990s. And then individual artists we've shown. Martin Creed, again, really pushing the boundaries of what can be considered sculpture. So the work you see behind the glass, that kind of golden glow, that's a work called Half the Air in a Given Space, where balloons were filled up with a measurement of half the air in the space. And people were invited to walk in, and it was so much fun. Or Katharina Grossa, a German artist, and for her show, she filled that same gallery with earth, which was then painted, and then the walls were painted. And again, it became an environment that you could enter, kind of a weird moonscape, also really, really exciting. An artist, Sterling Ruby, works out of Los Angeles. Had a sculpture retrospective, and this is a work called The Cup. Again, wood and resin, so using new and different materials, or more traditional materials like Tony Craig, who had a sculpture retrospective, and those are bronze and stone. We don't ignore glass. This was a show of sculpture of Ronnie Horn. One of the more challenging shows we ever mounted at the Sculpture Center, because each of those cylinders weighs 10,000 pounds. And we had to go over the building plans with our engineers very, very carefully, again and again, because if we put them in the wrong place, the whole thing would collapse. It didn't, thankfully. Or Jaume Plensa, we did this beautiful retrospective of his sculpture, stone heads and other work. A number of the shows we do involve really directly engaging the viewer. So not just as a viewer, but as a physical participant. Like, for example, with this work by the Brazilian artist Ernesto Neto, where this kind of fabric sculpture was erected, which visitors were invited to take off their shoes, put on little booties, and surgical booties, and walk through. The work was titled "Cuddle on the Tightrope." Sometimes interesting groupings of work and dialogues with the collection, like this group of works by Nairi Bagramian, a German artist, and those suspended works are surrounding a work from the Nasher collection by Isamu Noguchi, which was about the 4th sculpture acquired by Patsy and Raymond Nasher. But the idea of groupings doesn't just pertain to works of art. It pertains to people, to our visitors, and we sometimes have created these sort of social spaces. This is a work by Piero Golia, an Italian artist who works in Los Angeles, who created a project for us called Chalet Dallas, and visitors to the museum could enter there at all hours of the day, and also in the evenings where we had events. And he worked with an architect, Edward Chang, to design and conceive the space. And there were various works of art made by friends of his that were also installed there. It was just a great success, great fun. But we go outside of our walls as well. So we started that in 2013 when we celebrated our 10th anniversary with a project called Nasher Exchange. And that's where we commissioned 10 artists to create projects all over Dallas, from the far north to the far south, east and west. Really both surveying a range of practices in public art, but also looking at the different neighborhoods and communities throughout Dallas. This was a project of the artist Rick Lowe that took place not far from North Park, on the other side of the 75, Vickery Meadow, where the greatest concentration of refugees in the state of Texas lived. All the relief organizations placed their refugees there. People from all over the world, numerous cultures. They didn't speak the same language one with the other, so they couldn't communicate. Many of them had amazing talents, so this project kind of brought them together, had them teaching each other new skills, introducing them to Dallas and themselves to each other. Ugo Rondinoni, an Italian artist, created this pier in Fish Trap Lake in West Dallas. Painted pier, rainbow pier. The Chilean artist Alfredo Jar did this project where we worked with hospitals and expectant mothers around Dallas to record the first cry of their baby after they were born. And those cries were recorded and then played in this structure that Jar designed. You could enter and sit there, and at every day, at the time of day a particular baby was born, you would hear their cry. Los Angeles artist Ruben Ochoa did this beautiful work out of steel and concrete at the Trinity Audubon Center in southwest Dallas. And we've continued to work outside of our walls with a project we launched during the pandemic called Nasher Public. So this is a work that standing now at the corner of Ross and Olive Street, Ross Avenue and Olive Street, by the Dallas-based artist Alicia Eggert, a neon, or rather, well, electronic. This work, which was on the Katy Trail, and we've continued to commission a number of works on the Katy Trail. We collaborated with an organization called Artstillery, restoring these shotgun houses in West Dallas, where a performance was staged, really detailing the lives of those who lived in those houses. And as we focus on the community, we also look around the world with the Nasher Prize, a project that we launched in 2015, and where each year an international jury selects one artist who has made significant contributions to the understanding of sculpture to receive an award and at the Nasher. These are the laureates to date. From the bottom right, there's our first laureate, Colombian artist Doris Salcedo, then French artist Pierre Huyghe, Chicago-based artist Theaster Gates, German artist Isa Gensken, Chicago-based artist Michael Rakowitz, then up top right again, Nairi Bagramian, then Sengen Nguda, and who now worked in Los Angeles and New York, now lives in Colorado. And last, our current Nasher Prize laureate, who will be celebrating next year, the artist Odobang Nakanga, grew up between Nigeria and Lagos and Paris, and lives now in Belgium. For the Nasher Prize, we always show work by the artist. This is a work by Doris Salcedo. Can you imagine those tables have grass growing through holes in the surface? It took us about a month of grow lights in our gallery to make this happen. Or show a small group of works by Theaster Gates in our lower level galleries, sculptures and paintings. This is an event we did with our laureate Michael Rakowitz, where just before the pandemic in February of 2020, where he, in addition to making sculpture, he cooks, has written a cookbook, and we teamed up a group called Break Bread, Break Borders, who are refugees from the Middle East, who have a catering company. And they did this event in collaboration with a group called FARM, Farmers Assisting Returning Military, who have an urban farm in Dallas and teach returning veterans the skills of farming. We celebrate the Nasher Prize laureate at a great gala held at the Nasher. It's a really beautiful event. A tent is erected in our garden over our fountains. And then we have a range of educational activities, programs, whether tours for classes and children, art-making activities for children. Classes also for adults and lectures, musical performances. Programs for those who can't enjoy art necessarily in the same ways that some of us can. So we have a number of programs for the blind. We want them to experience sculpture. Also for those who in various ways are developmentally disabled. We do all of this, and it really goes back to this initial impulse, where you look at this hand axe, and you notice how there's a shell right in the middle, smack in the middle, And whoever made it worked very hard to carve around it so he didn't touch, he or she, we don't know, so it didn't touch the shell. No reason to do that. Doesn't serve any purpose. You go from that impulse to make art, which is so human, it predates humans, something we all share, to sharing that with everyone. Because, as Ray Nasher used to say, art and sculpture is for everyone. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Really impressed by what's going on at the Nasher. I had no idea that y'all did all that. My question is, do you have a favorite one? Or maybe it's better to ask, if I was walking out of the museum and I met you, you turned to me and said, oh, did you see so-and-so? That would stick with me. He said, well, this must be his favorite. Also, another question is, the reflection of the light of the building next door was a problem. I haven't heard about that anymore. Maybe that was resolved. And then finally, do you all plan on moving more sculptures into the North Park Center where a lot more people can appreciate them and enjoy them that would not make the visit to the Nasher?
Okay, so 3 great questions. And the first one is the toughest one to answer. It's kind of, what's my favorite work? What would you point? We have more work than we can show at any one time. So we're always rotating the collection. Every time we mount a temporary exhibition, we change the collection display to go with it. In fact, if we're working with a living artist, we always invite that artist to help us choose works to go with their show. So if you were to go right now, we have something on view that I'm very proud of. In addition to our temporary show, which is a show of an incredible artist named Sarah Z, who works in video. Nothing like anything you've ever seen before, I promise you. But we also recently received a gift, the most important gift in our history since the gift of the original Nasher collection, of 24 sculptures by Jean Arp, again, that founding figure in our collection, from the Arp Foundation, which is based in Berlin, Germany. So we have that on display now, and it is, I'll tell you, it's just beyond beautiful. It's exquisite. So I would say don't miss that. There are other works that I just absolutely adore. They're 2 amazing, tiny, this big, Alberto Giacometti's, unbelievable. There's a David Smith from his Rotary series that I think is great. But, every time we change the display and something new comes out, I think, oh, that's my favorite. Yeah. The second question was about the light. There's no resolutions. It continues to be there. It continues to be a problem. At this point, there's really nothing we can do about it. We're hoping that at some point in the future, technology advances in such a way that the problem could be resolved. The solutions that we've looked at so far, either the other side hasn't accepted them or they wouldn't work. So we're kind of stuck. So there was a 40-plus story residential tower erected across the street from the Nasher on Olive Street. Went up about 2012, and it has very reflective glass, and it has a sort of curved facade. So it acts like kind of a giant disco ball, and it reflects light on the Nasher. What it does is our building, the design of the building was conceived to let the maximum amount of indirect north light into our galleries. So you'd have this very beautiful light, but it was very even. It was north light, which is the light that artists love most. what this does is it casts, it's like it stands where the sun would be, but the sun could never be. So it casts direct sunlight into our building. So you walk into our galleries in the afternoon on a sunny day, there are spots all over the walls, all over the sculptures. It means we can't show paintings in those galleries because the light level is too high, but also it's just not what you really want to look at. In the garden, it creates problems because it raises the temperature by up to 30 degrees on the ground. And so, you know, North Texas in the summer can be a little warm. Add 30 plus degrees to that and try growing something. So it's a problem. And then the last question, so we do lend some of our work occasionally to North Park, but the owners of North Park, Nancy Nasher and David Hemesegger, themselves are avid collectors of art and sculpture. And so most of what you see here now is actually the collection of Nancy and David. And they are constantly adding to the collection, and you see their collection here on a rotating basis. I saw another hand.
Any other questions?
Yes.
I got two questions. Number one is the building itself. So different. There's been many changes made to the building. That's my first question. Last question, all of Nasher's exhibits that are displayed there, which one do you consider the most valuable?
Oh my God. Another tough question. You didn't tell me about beginning. The building is, we've celebrated our 20th anniversary. The building is 20 years old. I have to say it's held up amazingly well. We rarely experience a leak, and if so, it's minor. It's really, it's beautifully made, and it's held up wonderfully. We have not made any changes to the building itself. We've changed the use of certain spaces, and that probably my successor will make some change. That happens, but there's been no physical changes. As to my favorite show, valuable show, gosh. I think two of the most important shows, really in terms of, so I'm an art historian by training. So for me, it's, what do you do that impacts the understanding of the history of art? And there were two shows that I think did that more than the others. One was a show called First Sculpture, which was about those Paleolithic objects. And it was a very beautiful show, but also really, it was pretty revolutionary. No one had ever done anything like that. And it's had a big impact. It's really changed the way people understand both, prehistory and really the impulse to make art. And then a show we did just this last year that I also referenced, Groundswell, Women of Land Art, really rewrites the history of what is considered one of the major art movements of the last century, land art. And so those I think would be my choice for the most influential, important. But over time, one's evaluation changes. So you invite me back here 5-10 years from now, and who knows what I'll tell you.
Jeremy, thank you very much. I have one question. You mentioned in your collection, Giacometti. I love Giacometti.
Yes.
He's fascinating. But how many how many actual pieces do you have of his?
Oh, we've got, I think, 12 works.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Yeah.
In honor of your speaking today, a book at McShane Elementary will be placed in their library.
Oh.
We appreciate it very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So next week, Tom Rhodes, I'll have Burton Rhodes come speak about real estate in Dallas. Who has questions about residential real estate here in Dallas? Anybody right now? Anyone? Anyone? Raise your hand, be honest. And so now I'll have Susan Glenn come up and do our four-way test.
In all we say and do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build better goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, is it beneficial to all concerned? Ding!